The distress beacon had been broadcasting for 17 standard cycles, piercing through the void of space with desperate urgency. The mining colony on Kepler 442b was dying, its 3,000 inhabitants trapped beneath tons of collapsed rock, after seismic activity had devastated their underground facilities. Every major civilization in the sector had received the transmission, yet none had responded. The Altarians claimed their rescue ships were committed elsewhere. The Centauri Federation cited budget constraints. The Vegan Alliance simply ignored the plea entirely. After all, what were a few thousand miners compared to the grand schemes of galactic politics? On Earth, however, things were different. Commander Jake Martinez sat in the cramped briefing room of Luna Station, studying the holographic display of the distant world. Around him, his team of 12 volunteers reviewed technical specifications and geological surveys. They were not soldiers, not trained rescue specialists, not even particularly young. They were simply humans who had heard about people in trouble and decided someone needed to help. The nearest Altarian fleet could be there in 6 days, reported Lisa Wong, their communications officer and former elementary school teacher. But they've made it clear they won't move without payment up front. 16 billion credits, muttered Tom Jackson, a retired construction foreman who now served as their engineering specialist. For a rescue operation, Dr. Emily Brooks, a veterinarian who had volunteered as their medical officer, shook her head in disgust. Those people will be dead in 6 days. The structural damage reports show their life support systems are failing. Martinez nodded grimly. Their own ship, the Persistence, was a converted cargo hauler that had seen better decades. It would take them 14 days to reach Kepler 442b, assuming nothing broke down along the way. By any reasonable calculation, they were too late and too poorly equipped to make a difference. "Sir," spoke up David Kim, their pilot and former taxi driver, "I've been running some numbers. If we push the engines beyond safety specifications and take the shortcut through the asteroid field in the Deneb system, we might cut our travel time to 11 days. "That's still too long," Martinez replied, but his mind was already working. Unless... He turned to their newest team member, Alex Petrov, a young programmer who had joined them after losing his job to automation. "Alex, you've been studying their mining equipment specifications. What if we don't wait to reach orbit?" Petrov's eyes widened with understanding. "The emergency pods. If we launch them while still approaching the system, they could reach the surface 2 days ahead of our main ship." "That's insane," said Brooks. "Those pods weren't designed for atmospheric entry from that distance." "No," agreed Martinez. "But Tom's been modifying them." Jackson grinned, his weathered face creasing. "I've seen worse jury-rigged equipment work in construction sites. These pods might not be pretty, but they'll get 6 of us to the surface alive." The plan was madness by any military standard. 6 humans would launch themselves toward an unknown world in modified escape pods, with minimal equipment and no backup, hoping to somehow rescue 3,000 trapped aliens before their own ship could provide support. The journey to Kepler 442b tested every system on the Persistence. The ship groaned and shuddered as Kim pushed the engines far beyond their designed limits. In the engineering bay, Jackson and his team worked around the clock, patching coolant leaks and replacing burned-out components with spare parts from their own personal belongings. On day 9, they received an update from the colony. Life support was failing faster than projected. They had perhaps 48 hours before the trapped miners would begin suffocating in the toxic atmosphere of their collapsed tunnels. "Launch window in 6 hours," announced Kim over the intercom. "Final preparations for pod deployment." Martinez suited up alongside Jackson, Petrov, Brooks, Wong, and their newest volunteer, Maria Santos, a former chef who had insisted on joining them after learning about the mission. Each pod contained basic excavation equipment, medical supplies, and enough rations for 3 days. "Remember," Martinez addressed his team, We're not trying to clear the entire collapse. We just need to create enough ventilation and access points to keep them alive until the Persistence arrives with heavy equipment. The launch sequence was controlled chaos. One by one, the modified pods shot away from the Persistence. Their occupants pressed against acceleration couches as they hurtled toward the planet below. Jackson's pod suffered a navigation malfunction and nearly missed the landing zone entirely. Brooks had to manually deploy her parachute when the automatic system failed, but they made it. The surface of Kepler 442b was a hellscape of twisted metal and collapsed structures. The mining colony, once a marvel of underground engineering, was now a tomb. Martinez's team worked with desperate efficiency, using portable excavators to clear debris while Wong established communication with the trapped survivors. The aliens they found were unlike anything from Earth's databases. Tall, crystalline beings. With multiple limbs, they had been slowly dying in the dark for 17 days. Many were injured. All were weak from oxygen deprivation and toxic gas exposure. "There are children," Brooks reported over the radio, her voice tight with emotion. "Dozens of them in what looks like a nursery section." The humans worked without sleep for 36 hours straight. Jackson rigged ventilation shafts using salvage materials and his own belt buckles. Santos organized the distribution of their limited medical supplies. Petrov crawled through spaces too small for the aliens, carrying oxygen canisters and communication equipment. When the Persistence finally arrived with its heavy equipment and proper rescue teams, they found the impossible. Every single trapped colonist was alive. Word of the rescue spread quickly through the sector. The major civilizations, embarrassed by their own inaction, tried to claim credit or minimize the humans' role. But the survivors themselves told a different story. Elder Koth, the colony's leader, spoke before the Galactic Council weeks later. His translated words were broadcast across hundreds of worlds. "We sent our distress call to every advanced civilization in this sector. We received responses of regret, of political necessity, of economic impossibility. Only one species heard our plea and asked not what they could gain, but what they could give. These humans came to us with old ships and simple tools, but they brought something our sophisticated civilizations had forgotten. The simple conviction that people in danger deserve help, regardless of the cost." The 12 humans returned to Earth as quietly as they had left, refusing interviews and medal ceremonies. But across the galaxy, something had changed. The word human now carried a different meaning among the stars. Not as a species to be feared or dismissed, but as the beings who would come when no one else would. And in the depths of space, more distress beacons began broadcasting toward the small blue world that had proven the greatest technology meant nothing without the courage to use it in service of others.